Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us again for another episode of Throwback Thursday at the Bishop Museum with DeSoto Brown, our historian in Library and Archives, and myself, Hadley Anderson, one of the science educators here. So DeSoto, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Kapiolani Park.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now, if you live in Honolulu, you certainly are familiar with Kapiolani Park in some respect. You've been to Kapiolani Park. You've certainly been driven through it. You've seen it, etc. Well, Kapiolani Park is a real feature of Honolulu, and we are very fortunate that it got created because it's in a really optimum location right at the base of Diamond Head. And it means that there's a large open space connected or very close to Waikiki, which is a very densely urbanized area now. So we're very lucky that we got it, and it also is nice because it preserves the view of Diamond Head, which is really important too. And back in the 1960s, there was a lot of pressure that maybe high-rises were going to be built that would obscure Diamond Head. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Well, Kapiolani Park was created during the reign of King Kalakaua, which was from 1874 to 1891. And it is named after his wife, who was Queen Kapiolani. And the park has gone through a number of changes, of course, over the years, as who hasn't. This is a photograph of Kapiolani Park, so you can see it too. And she's astonished.
That looks like a marshland.
Well, it was.
Swamp.
It was. And see, all of Waikiki and a lot of Kapiolani Park was originally marshland. It was all drainage from the Ko'olau Mountains coming down to the ocean, and there were also springs. So Kapiolani Park originally had a lot of ponds in it that had all kinds of things living in the ponds, as plants as well as insects and other things like that. So this is a photo from about 1908. So it's 100 plus years old, and as you can see, Diamond Head is in the background with Lily Pond in the foreground. Here's another picture, about 1920, and this is in one of the, and I'm not really sure exactly what all the configurations of the various waterways were, but in one of the areas, watery areas, there was an island that was called McKee Island. That's spelled M-A-K-E-E, named after a person whose last name was McKee. And there's a Hawaiian song about it called McKee Island, which means McKee Island, which is just about, you and I are visiting McKee Island and having a good time, essentially, without getting any details about what they do. But this is McKee Island, and here, look at that. There's how you walked around in the middle of all these ponds and stuff. There were bridges. So while this is McKee Island also, about 1908, 1909, and on one hand that is kind of an interesting feature, but of course on the other hand it means that you're limited in what you can do in a park if you've got a lot of water in it. So eventually, as Waikiki in general was drained through the construction of the Alawai Canal, eventually in the 1920s they filled in a lot of the watery parts of Kapiolani Park. Now, here's a picture from about 1898, and it is a bandstand. And it's one of the features of the city and county of the government of the city and county of Honolulu is that we have the Royal Hawaiian Band, which is supported. It's a municipal band, and it's supported by taxpayer money. And the Royal Hawaiian Band started in the 19th century, really actually part of the royal government, the monarchy government of the Hawaiian Islands, still exists today. Well, in those, back in the days of, before there was electronic communication and electronic entertainment, lots of organizations or lots of places in Europe and the United States had bands, and they would put on concerts because that was one of the forms of entertainment for people who lived in cities and towns. So there was always a bandstand for the band to perform at, and this is the bandstand, the first bandstand probably, in Kapiolani Park, where the Royal Hawaiian Band would have concerts. And there have been, there's been a succession of bandstands in the park, and the Royal Hawaiian Band still plays there on Sundays.
Hear them, yeah.
and so people still attend. This picture is from 1939, and this is possibly the second bandstand. We're on our fourth now, so there was this one in the photograph. There was another one in the 60s and 70s, and now we have a fourth one. And so they've been probably all in generally the same place, although I couldn't swear to that for sure, but these last ones certainly have been. So as you can see in this picture, it's quite a well-attended event because it was still kind of a standard thing for people to go and listen to the band concert. Something else that happened in Kapiolani Park, which I bet you didn't know about.
Is that chariot racing?
Well, it's horse racing.
Okay, but there's wheels.
Yeah. No, that is called, I can't remember what that's called, but there is a type of
like
horse
buggy
racing.
racing. Almost.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's called Surrey, no. I can't remember what it's called. But that's something that's still done in the USA, which a horse has to pull a little one-man vehicle, and the driver is sitting in that little wagon. Anyway, there was a big racetrack at Kapiolani Park, and there was a grandstand, as you can see in this picture. This is from about 1900, 1890s maybe. And there were horse races up until the 1920s in Kapiolani Park.
Like where in Kapiolani Park?
Well, there's the main large open area.
Right.
That was ringed with, originally, a horse racing track.
Oh.
So that big open area, nowadays people use it to play various ball games, rugby and cricket and soccer and baseball and football and all that stuff.
Yoga out there and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that was originally, a lot of that was originally a racetrack.
Oh.
So here's a picture in 1918 of the end of a horse race at Kapiolani Park. She's looking at it. You're seeing her look at it. And there's a little grandstand, and this is just like horse racing every place else. And one of the particularly popular days to go to the races at Kapiolani Park was Kamehameha Day, which is every June 11th. So up until 1914, that was the main Kamehameha Day event. Starting in 1914, the Kamehameha Day parade began, and that shifted to being the main event that people attended, and of course horse racing came to an end. But up until the 1960s, they still played polo in Kapiolani Park. And there were stables for the horses to be kept where today the tennis courts are and the other small park that's right at the very base of Diamond Head. Mm-hmm. Those were stables. So when I was a kid, polo was still being played every Sunday, and the horse stables were still there, and I took riding lessons there to no avail because I was so small that it didn't really work out, that the horse didn't care. This little kid was sitting on his back trying to make him move. So I didn't have very many horse riding lessons. And finally, here's another thing that I'm sure you are completely unfamiliar with, or maybe not. Do you know what that is?
No, I thought it was going to be the fountain that's out there, but...
Well, actually, this is a fountain. And so you're right in a way.
In a way.
This is the first big decorative fountain that was located in Kapiolani Park. And it was put up in 1917, and it was to commemorate the ascension of the Japanese Emperor Taisho, in that year, or thereabouts. And the funding was raised by the local Japanese community for this event, and then local Japanese contractors got together and built this big fountain. So it has I'll hold it so you can sort of see it too. It's got decorative stonework at the base, and then this is a large bronze basin, and this is a bronze sort of platform, and then there's a phoenix figure at the top. Mm-hmm. So this was a phoenix fountain, or Japanese fountain, as it was commonly called. And most of the time, I don't know that there was actually any water in very much of it, but water did occasionally run from this basin out down towards the bottom. Well, in December 1941, as everybody probably knows, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, attacked the island of Oahu, starting World War II, and then there was a lot of very anti-Japanese sentiment. So this entire fountain was demolished in 1942, and all of the metal parts were very sort of symbolically recycled for the war effort. So that was the end of that. But in the post-war period, in that same location, a new fountain was constructed. And so here is that original fountain as it appeared in 1955, and this is the way I remember it as a little kid up into the 60s. There was just this one plain pool with just one little fountain in the center of it, and this picture was taken in 1955. And in about 1967, that fountain was replaced by the current one, which is this one, which was to commemorate Mrs. Louise Dillingham, who had been a very important civic figure in kind of beautification of the city and a philanthropist, etc. And her children paid for this fountain to be installed. So that's the three fountains that have been in Kapiolani Park. Like, as I pointed out earlier, the bandstand has changed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, next time you go to Kapiolani Park or drive through it, or if you've never been here, the first time you go see it, now you know a little bit about the park and how much it's changed, because as time passes, we all change.
Well, I'm sure it's changed a lot. Did any of the area around the park become smaller too, and encroached upon by?
Yes, it actually it's hard to say, because the sale of individual house lots kind of has come and gone. There was in fact more park just up from it at the base of Diamond Head, which subsequently got sold off into individual house lots. But at the same time, there originally were more private homes on the ocean side of it. Mm-hmm. So not only along the beach were there private homes, none of which are there anymore, but there were some in what's now the park proper, which eventually were condemned and the property purchased and turned into the park. So it's been kind of a give and take.
Okay.
There you go.
Great.
Ta-da. Anyway, everybody, that's it for this week. And we're again talking to you from Bishop Museum Archives. And if you want to know more about Bishop Museum, please visit the Bishop Museum website, www.bishopmuseum.org, because not only can you find out about our collections, but you can find out about our exhibits and any other events that were happening here. And we've always got a lot of cool, wonderful things happening at Bishop Museum.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have an event coming up this Sunday too. I don't know if you've heard about that.
No, tell me about it.
That is our Hawaii Pacific Health is promoting a kids fest, which is a festival for healthy kids. And you have to come on campus and register, but it's free for Combine and military, so it's going to be a super busy day. And then our next event after that is November 8th is Duke Day, which will have special programming specifically geared towards Duke and waves in the ocean.
And let me also point out, too, that currently we're in a run of a one-man play by Moses Goods. Moses is a part-time employee at Bishop Museum, and for the Hawaii Theater for Youth, he has done an astonishingly good, wonderful one-man play about Duke Kahanamoku, and that, of course, is in tandem with our Duke Kahanamoku exhibit, which is running here. And that exhibit is going to be running until March of next year. And if you have a chance to see Moses' play, which I have, it's a wonderful experience, so I really would urge people to do that too.
He said it's about 12 different characters, one-man show, and like 24 costume changes.
Yeah, but a really minimal, he only has 4 props, and he uses those props amazingly well, and he does all his characters amazingly well, and I think one of the most impressive things is that physically he has the physical stature and presence of Duke as well, so that really helps carry off his entire impersonation of Duke as well as the other people that he plays. It's really, really fun, and it's really enjoyable. So
thanks for joining us again. Visit our website, www.bishopmuseum.org, and we'll see you next week for Throwback Thursday.